see a hand in the audience out there. 2 hands, 3 hands. Look, don't fight about this, guys. Well, the interviews are coming up, but no. We like to have somebody that wants to do this for 10 or 15 years, that will be into it, that wants to do this and wants to do this for the community and understands a little bit of the history. So we'll be looking for someone that we can train a little bit on history and just with a little bit of dexterous skills. But I think maybe 2 people we need.
Okay.
If one doesn't show up, they can reset the time, fall back, forward, whatever the case may be.
You are very, very passionate about clocks and horology, and it's exciting and refreshing to see someone who loves their job as much as you do. So I hope that you are able to find someone to fill that position that would be sort of a protege and love, have that love and that passion the same way that you do.
And there's a lot of older people. I mean, what's an older person over 50 that have expressed interest to do this? But and it's fine as long as they can train someone younger before they give this up, and that's the whole key here. But as far as the passion goes, the passion is clocks. The real passion is wood. Wood is that natural, organic resource. So a clock is a thinking entity. It's part machine, part thinking, and it's made inorganically and organically. So that it's almost like a person. A clock is, yeah. And if we look at some of the clocks going back to the early French in the 1680s through 1720s, we could be sitting in Versailles having a dinner on this table, and they made a boat, a replica of a sailing vessel with 12 clock movements that you'd wind up simultaneously. And as a parlor trick, before dinner, this boat is going to actually roll down the table and the sails will be flapping something like this, or a swan flapping its wings. And sophistication that it's still difficult to conceive how that works. Because when every clock comes in, you first have to figure out, how does it work? Then what's wrong with it? Then how do I fix it? Mentally, technically, how do I fix it? And then how do I fix it dexterally? So you have 4 things going on here. But the first thing, if you can't figure out how the clock works, and some are so sophisticated, you'll never be a good clock repair person, which is a term I don't like to use, but it's somewhat of a degradative term to some of us, yeah.
Is there any possibility that there will be a piece of the clock that won't be salvageable and the whole project would be in jeopardy, or is this something that you're confident you can completely restore this clock?
There's enough fabric there on the clock. It's worn badly, one of the worst I've seen in maybe 500, but it's highly salvageable. I'm not there to make the clock run. I am there to make the clock back to the way it originally was, because we want to set this clock on a new life that it can last 200 years. And there's no reason why, if we don't have a good caretaker there through its history, it'll be here throughout eternity. Machines will run if they're lubricated and kept clean, and so it'll be fine. Yeah.
Now, with each recasting, there is a date that was put in the bell.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of any kind of marking that will commemorate this project, or?
Well, I think that's a good order. I think we should create something, a plaque or something, because of the historical nature of the bell. I don't think we want to touch the bell in any way, shape, or form. And it has 1750, 1833, 1848, 1902, and 1948, all cast into the bell. We don't want to touch and alter the surface of that bell in any way, shape, or form. We actually need to protect it with a greater enclosure. But I think over the carriage or the yoke that's holding the clock would be nice to have an engraved plaque and stating the purpose. And who knows, maybe we want to bury a time capsule with all the instructions and everything that's happened in the restoration so it doesn't get lost somewhere. Absolutely. But a little bit concerned looking up in the steeple. There may need to be some more restructuring. It looks like we do have some leaks. Leaks are not good. I mean, water's not good around iron, so on the top of the clock movement. So we may be looking into a carpenter or something for the actual steeple. But no, it will be put back in good order, and this thing will last the end of time as long as it's maintained.
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
So I think that I have asked all the questions I think I would like to ask, but is there anyone out in the audience that would like to ask some questions? I would also like to acknowledge that your mother is here to support you tonight. I think that
Well, she caused the problem from the beginning, so.
it's all your
And
fault,
she
Mom.
keeps saying she doesn't remember, and that's not a good thing.
Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask? Any questions about the bell? Any questions about the plan for how this will impact the city and influence the youth? What we can do to get involved? Come on, guys, ask some questions. Okay.
One of the things that one of the things that we have lacked here in this city lately is we don't advertise. The only reason I know about the bells because I go to the church. So I think I think you have a great plan, but people need to know. And I don't live in town. I live in Mannington, and I don't get the Salem paper, but, you know, the only way we're really going to know stuff is if it's advertised. And that's one of the things, I've lived in this town my whole life. And one of the things that we have not done for many, many years is advertise.
And I think it gets more difficult as people don't read the paper. There's no newspapers are passe anymore.
But I do internet, I do Facebook,
Yeah.
I do all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're saying that it would be beneficial to at least set up a Facebook page for this project, something that and possibly take some of the funds when we raise money for the or when the church raises money for the project, take some of the funds and put it back into the marketing of that site. Possibly, do you think that would be the solution?
I think that would help. I mean, yeah, that would be a start. The reason I don't get the paper, because by the time I get to read the paper, it's over.
It's over.
It's true. It's true.
But I wanted to say that this is a split project, so the clock technically, monetarily, has no tie-in to this preservation plan that we talked about tonight in the church. It does philosophically have a definite connection, but technically it's the church's, this is the church's game, and the church will do it. But as far as we're trying to generate interest, we're trying to generate human interest on the ground of people that want to save something that's old. The next step for us is we're creating a not-for-profit foundation, would be to get a location in Salem. And in that location, we're trying to find people, or we want to generate people as volunteers to train them how to restore this building that's going to be the headquarters of the foundation. Once in there, then we start spreading our wings more. But we're all going to be about training in the schools or training people. If we can build houses for people, for Habitat for Humanity, for how many years now? 30, 35 years. And it's a very good organization. I've been to Plains, Georgia with Jimmy Carter back in the early 80s, and he's a great furniture maker. What if we can do this, and there's a great percentage of the people that don't work, why can't we save our historic structures the same way? Volunteers, volunteer materials, nothing wrong with that. If we can build houses for people, we can save what little. Our kids need to know how we got to where we are. When you go over to Europe, it's a totally different ballgame. They're taught history from square one, and they have history, and they cherish their history. I mean, younger people go to brocants or used furniture stores to buy their furniture. If they're going into a dormitory in college, they're not going to IKEA like a lot of people do here. But it is a different culture, and I understand that. It's not just one country it happens to. It happens to many, many countries there. But nevertheless, I want to draw that distinction. This is two different distinct projects. It's kind of a rebound, trying to get a jump start into something different. Doesn't mean it's going to work here. I mean, there's places, there's cities and towns in America, it's worked phenomenally. In the Midwest, in the South here, the Midwest is crazy. Those towns were conceived in the 1850s. Ours is a 16th century and a 17th century town, not the 1850s. They have no history as far as I'm concerned. They do, but it's not real history. We got the real deal, and we're not using it. We're letting it slip through our hands. The Midwest is working with something from the 1850s, industrialized buildings, bringing artists and people in from all over the country to live there. And these are colleagues of mine, and I know there's plans. There's 3 or 4 plans you can use. You can use combinations of what they did and how they did to get to where they need to be. And all this is about bringing artists in. As I said at the church, people come for historic ambiance. They go to move into a new area. Green spaces, parks, jogging trails, biking trails. And lastly, they want little restaurants and bistros and coffee houses, little boutiques. That's why people move into an area. We're not offering any of that. Everybody's moved out of Salem, all the commercial venues. Even the Java Dog moved out of Salem, unfortunately. And that was a great little startup. I had great hopes. But we have one shining star. We have the bank, which has been bought up by a couple from Greenwich Village, New York, and they have a restoration frame shop there right in the center of Salem. So that bank, the roof was falling in. They've put over $200,000 into a building they probably spent $80,000 for, and kudos to them. They did a great restoration, and they opened about a month ago. So very happy to have them to the neighborhood, so they could be a real anchor for us.
We need more businesses like that,
Yeah.
and like you said, smaller businesses and the arts. It's important to have the arts in small towns and to encourage galleries, and these are things that bring in people from all over. So I know that how I met John is our love of the arts.
Mm-hmm.
We share that, and we do feel that it's lacking here in Salem County. There's just not enough support for the arts in Salem County. So if we can all work together and try to find a way to support the arts and grow that community and, all come together, it's really, that's the plan that needs to come into effect. And hopefully you're the guy who can make that happen.
And I think we can see it because back in the early 80s, everyone may remember, Mullica Hill was this little mecca of maybe 200 to 300 small shops, antique shops, craft shops, you name it, they had it. And it was a great destination. Any Saturday or Sunday in Mullica Hill, you could find 150 to 200 people just milling around, a great day. Now today, there's nothing left of Mullica Hill. There may be 7 or 8 shops of any legitimacy. Everything else is absolutely gone. You find lawyers' offices, dentists, a couple funeral parlors. So, we're dealing with society changes here, which we can change. But yes, back to the arts. People love arts. People have different interpretation about what art is. I'm in the arts in bloom here in Salem County, and working with John also. They're struggling because there's inner conflict of what is art in the arts in bloom and who should we let into our organization. And we have to be a little more selective to bring a better clientele in to see what we do, and that's what we're finding. And if we use model programs such as in Chester County and a program over in Delaware, the same kind of one weekend a month art program, then it's better run. It's juried. Ours is not juried, and they've got to come up with higher standards of who they let in, and then you'll reap higher or better clientele, or clientele, not better clientele, but clientele that want to spend money and buy from the people. All of our people are complaining they don't sell anything on that weekend. It's because we have too many overlaps of the same kind of artist, and some of the things are questionable.
You're probably not going to be very happy with me for asking you this. Do you have any interest in being involved in politics? You have lots of great ideas, and you have a lot of historical knowledge, and it seems to me that you have a lot of the characteristics of someone that could really bring people together and make a difference in this community. Is that something that would interest you? Do you have an interest in?
That was my stump speech tonight. I'm running for mayor next cycle. No, no. I enjoy. I'm here to save something that can't do anything for itself. It's the object. It's the clock. It's the house. Houses are art. Original 18th century, 17th century. They're the most fragile because they're exposed to a couple things: the environment, bugs, damp, cold, and people that destroy them and at times bastardize them. So I like to stick up for the object that cannot stick up for itself. But unfortunately, I think the deeper that I get and my colleagues get, we're learning that this tinge of politics comes back to bite us sometimes, or may bite us in the future, or we have to learn how to work with them or work around them, whatever the case may be. We're not here to do battles. We're here to save what's left worth saving. And as far as Salem goes, what we need to do is we need to get out there, number one, and create a map. A map of the city has to be made of what's still there from the 18th and 17th century, the condition it's in, to look through the bastardizations, the asbestos siding, the outcroppings, the dormers that have been put on, and attribute these houses into categories and come up with descriptions of them. So first we have to come up with a descriptive map, and then we go from there. And then we can make our recommendations. And all these successful preservation towns have gone this route, so it is a model to start with. And we need a lot of people on the foot, people out there taking photographs. But you also need to get into some of the houses that are closed up, and then you get into the political aspect. So then we need to have people on the other side that are willing to work with us. So,
Patty has a question.
Actually, it's more of a comment. You had mentioned the businesses in Salem that have moved out. A lot of these businesses depend on the residents. The local residents are not shopping locally. I mean, perfect example is Salem City Cafe, which, I mean, the owners tried to bring that up to the way that it used to be historically, and they put a lot of money into that building, and then the residents did not patronize that business, so they eventually went out of business. But I think it's very important for us to back our own communities, and we're not doing that. It's too easy to run the Delaware. So that's
Right.
the sad thing.
Tax-free shopping in Delaware.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just wanted to mention that. You mentioned Java Dog and, Salem City residents who are not patronizing Java Dog, just like they weren't patronizing Salem City Cafe. And that's a shame.
and then we get into the dirty words of gentrification. And unfortunately, there needs, in any of these preservations, there needs to be some amount of gentrification, some amount, with limitations. And we're not pushing the poor folks out down the street, but there has to be, something has to be done. Otherwise, there'll be no housing for the poor folks either. So there's got to be a balance struck among this plan or this layout. Absolutely, yes, yes. So we don't have the patrons in the town for the businesses, so we have no businesses. Exactly, exactly. I mean, I must say, I thought it a bit strange. I mean, I was the first one at the church tonight, and I looked at Hitchner's Furniture and Snyder's, and the roofs are falling in these places. The roofs are all falling in, right? And I see this man, he must be employed by the city, and he's got one of these sticks to pick up trash, and he's picking up pieces of half-inch piece of paper on the ground. I think it's good and it's bad and it's sad, because ain't nobody cares that a half-inch piece of paper's
Right.
there. I mean, you go one block either way, and you got upside-down cars, refrigerators still open. And if we go back to where David Brinkley, or was it Brinkley, talked in 1964, it was the same bunch of garbage around here. So yes, you will have some gentrification in this, and
Well, I know that we talked about a large number of houses in the city of Salem are HUD subsidized houses. So I know that you have some strong feelings on that subject. Do you want to share that with us tonight, or?
well, as we expanded, or maybe we didn't over the church, I mean, this decreases our tax base. And you see the horrific debt the city is in right now, and much of this is because of the slumlords. And you catch a house that's going to foreclose, you buy it cheap. You go get some illegal people off the street corner in another town, you bring them up for a month, you have them gut the house, and you got 5 units. And you start applying for this, and you start getting your Section 8 money coming in, and you're doing pretty well after a while. But you're doing well, but your town isn't doing well. But there's a breaking point when it's going to break, and there'll be nothing left, absolutely nothing left. And this is not just Salem. I mean, anybody here, if they know Bridgeton, I went away for 35, 37 years. Bridgeton in itself is a national historic landmark town, such as Cape May. And it's got more or almost as many Victorian houses as Cape May does. But I was appalled. I mean, they're all boarded up, absolutely boarded up. And why? From what I gather right now, it's not so much it's a few realtors, and you've seen their signs around. There's a few realtors. One man came to me when I was doing appraisals at the Greenwich show, the Greenwich show in September, and he said that I'm the man for him. He said, I have about 1,200 clocks, and I want you to be the man to restore them for me. And I thought, who are you, He said, I live in Bridgeton. I said, okay, Bridgeton. And he said, I'm so-and-so. And he says, I have about 1,700 units in Bridgeton. Oh, I said, you don't even have to tell me your name. I've seen your signs. You're a one-man wrecking crew. And I said, get out of here. I said, I have nothing to do with you. He says, I got a lot of money. I can pay you well. I said, I don't have anything to do with you. I said, you have single-handedly almost destroyed that town. And it's not you, it's relatives of his also. So it's very sad. So there's your typical HUD situation. And once you get to these houses at that point, they have to be torn down. Just block after block after block in Bridgeton, it's over. And it's not just affected just the lower end sections of town, but it's affected. Where's Freitag's funeral home? Commerce Street? Is that Commerce Street? That does not look good either. Those big industrial mansions around Freitag's, you go up there, you can tell there's been a number of degrees of falter in those houses. And you're out by the hospital there, Indian River School in that area, Indian Avenue School, sorry. And they're not that bad, but I mean, I can see coming back 30-some years later, the degradation. Very few places do you see that have maintained themselves or bettered themselves, I must say. And we're facing something like that in Alloway, too. Alloway was there since Salem's been there. I mean, Alloway is the town. It was a town of roads coming in. We have 2 historic taverns at the crossroad and a historic mercantile building dated 1801. I was looking to buy that. The bloody roof is falling in. It's going to go. It's one of the most historic, original, general mercantile buildings in America, and it's gone because the people can't take care of it. So it's beyond. Beside that, they have an EPA problem with oil in the basement. And the 2 taverns are literally falling apart. So again, we're not picking on one town here. It is quite widespread, unfortunately.
And I don't think that we're trying to pick on any towns. We're trying to find a solution and figure out what we can do to improve this beautiful city of Salem.
But why Salem is because of all the fabric that it still has. We've lost probably 85% of it is gone. It's literally gone, or today the roofs are falling in. But yet there's still enough in one little area, maybe 16 square blocks, that there is nothing like it in the entire country. Nothing like it. You can go to a lot of places. You can go to Salem, Massachusetts, to Gloucester, Massachusetts, sections of Boston, and they fabricate old houses. They make things look old. They build old things. There's phenomenal builders out there. But we're talking about original items here, and that's what we're trying to keep. Yeah. You can't fake and you can't make history and antiquity, unfortunately.
And they just don't make things like they used to.
Not at all.
Oh, we have another question. Oh, we're running out of time. Well, thank you everyone for being here with us tonight, and hopefully we'll all be able to come together and make a difference in this community.
Great, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for everything that you're doing.